Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we're the hosts of The Pint,
a pop culture podcast.
Lloyd, if you had to tell any of the people out there that might be listening to The Pint for the first time about anything unsavory or disconcerting we might do on the show, what would you warn them about?
Well, sometimes we drop spoilers, and sometimes we swear like motherfucking sailors.
Fuck yeah, we do. You heard it from him. You've been warned.
Listen in.
Charlie, you ever play roulette?
On occasion.
Well, let me give you a word of advice.
Always bet on black.
Hey everybody, it's a brand new episode of The Pint. My name is John.
My name is Lloyd.
And we are here talking about Black History Month, pop culture, the convergence of the two.
The convergence, the meshing.
The convergence. Now, if you want to go beyond the little bit of pop culture Black history that we'll be talking about this month, go to blackhistorymonth.gov. Great resources, incredible articles, incredible links to different websites that you can learn all about Black history in America and around the world. Stories about civil rights leaders such as Medgar Evers and Coretta Scott King. Stories like the terrifying story of Emmett Till. If you don't know that one, check that out. Pretty fucking awful. And things like the Buffalo Soldiers in the Civil War. That's where you can get all of that really important world information. But here on The Pint, what we're doing is we're just talking about the movies that were a product of or somehow related to Black creators or actors or writers. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about 1992's Passenger 57.
Let's rock!
All right, so Passenger 57 was released on November 6th of 1992, directed by Kevin Hooks, who he's not the person we're necessarily focusing on in this episode, but he is an African-American director. He's been all over the place. A couple episodes of season 1 of Lost. He was like almost like a showrunner and a consistent director on all 4 seasons of Prison Break, a show.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, a show we
I love that
enjoyed.
show.
I do too, man. I really do too. That's one that I will someday go, because it was only 4 seasons and like I think 1 movie or there was like a 5th season, but I never watched that.
Yeah,
right?
and Kevin Hooks actually directed a movie, like a follow-up movie about it.
The movie I have. I own the movie.
Yeah. Okay.
That was after the 4th season, and then they did a 5th, like whatever they call those legacy seasons or whatever.
Yep. I've got all that on DVD.
Yeah, me too. He also directed a Patrick Swayze film all about Patrick Swayze as like an action ass-kicking trucker called Black Dog. The writers of this film all over the place. So a guy named Stuart Raphael wrote the story. He's a writer-director. Here's some films that he wrote and directed. Mac and Me, the film that Paul Rudd has made famous for. Well, if you don't know, look up Paul Rudd, Conan O'Brien, and you'll enjoy those. The Ice Pirates, a film from 1984 that I don't remember much about, except for there's a scene where there's space herpes. I remember there's space herpes.
It's the worst kind.
Yeah, it is the worst
that
kind.
one's so hard to get rid of.
Yeah, no. You have to go to like Epsilon 7 to get the right kind of of antidote for that. And then a film that Lloyd bought at the Archive here in Bridgeport, Connecticut, the Vinegar Syndrome retail store, a couple years ago, sight unseen. I couldn't believe he bought it. It was like a deluxe version too. Tammy and the T-Rex.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did. You did. Paul Walker and Denise Richardson and a giant animatronic Tyrannosaurus Rex, right?
Yeah, terrible T-Rex.
Yeah. Did you ever end up watching that, or did you just?
Yeah, I did.
You did.
You know what? Shout out to me. I got my friend to buy it too. A guy whose girlfriend's name is Tammy. So
All right.
He bought it just for that, and he pretty much hated me after that. After he watched it.
Oh boy.
Speaking of the archive, I just went there last weekend. You know what I bought
Well, what'd you get?
for $43? The Arrow 4K version of Conan the Barbarian.
This is my fucking life, right? I could not get down there last weekend.
Oh, you should have asked me. I should have told you I was going.
I know you did say that you were probably going down, and I wasn't thinking about it. And then the other day, I was looking online, and it's like sold out everywhere.
Oh,
so,
is it?
Yeah, I'll get it. I'll find it. I'll find it. But yeah, fuck, like one of my favorite movies, and you blew it.
I blew it. I feel like I should have got it for you.
Nah, it's okay. Well, no, it's okay. But yeah, I was hoping to get to the archive this weekend because I had yesterday off, and as you know, we had a laptop situation, which turned out to not be a situation, but it took the wind out of my sails last night, and I was in no mood to go anywhere. And then today's Monday, and I was off today too. I had 2 days off in a row, but they're closed on Monday, so just bad timing. But hopefully, I can get down there this weekend, and maybe they've got one. Maybe one is like stuck in a crevice somewhere.
Yeah.
So story and screenplay was a guy named Dan Gordon. He wrote the 1984 James Garner vehicle Tank, The Hurricane, the Denzel Washington film, and not Tombstone, Wyatt Earp, the other Wyatt Earp film. And then just on screenplay was a guy named David Lowery. He wrote another film that Wesley Snipes starred in called Money Train a few years later. He wrote the Dennis Quaid science fiction vehicle from the 80s, Dreamscape. And a film we did here on the Pint, Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. So that's who wrote it and directed it. This thing was filmed between January of 1992 and February of 1992, so a little bit over a month. And it was filmed in Florida. Sanford, Florida, the Florida Keys, and Orlando. Wesley Snipes is a native of Orlando, and he went before filming to his high school, and they did a program where kids who attained a certain GPA over a certain period of time were given paid roles to be background extras in the carnival scene. There's a carnival scene in this film. So that's pretty cool. He did something
pretty cool. Yeah.
For his community. All right. Now that we know all that, before I jump into cast with you, Manster, I did want to bring up, we don't talk about this in every episode. I wanted to bring up the soundtrack of this film. It's weird. Did you know, like the smooth, light jazz? Did you notice it like when you're watching this movie or no?
I did. Like there was even a car scene. I think they're getting in the car and they're driving somewhere. And I thought, wow, that is so jazzy 90s car scene type of music.
It doesn't have that edge that a lot of action movies will usually have.
It was like I think it was maybe after the whole wife situation. Kind of sad, jazzy music.
It's throughout the whole thing. It's a guy named Stanley Clark, a jazz fusion bass player. If you're a fan of jazz fusion music, you know this guy. I don't know him personally because I'm not. He has been in bands. He also does rock stuff. He was in Paul McCartney's band at one point. He was in Ronnie Wood's band at one point. One of his bigger things is a jazz fusion band called Return to Forever. And he also scored or helped with the score of the Tina Turner biopic, What's Love Got to Do with It? And Boys in the Hood as well. But it's just, in this movie, I just noticed the music so much because I felt like I was kind of like in an easy listening dentist office for a lot of it. I don't know. It's kind of odd. Kind of odd.
Yeah, I thought so.
All right, Manster, let's talk about the cast.
Shabuya roll call.
Well, this is filled with stars. Not really, actually. Obviously, we have Wesley Snipes as Chief John Cutter, ex-cop, law enforcement, some sort of thing. Teaches security classes for like flight attendants. You'll know him from, first of all, as Michael Jackson's nemesis.
That's right.
In the music video for Bad, the Michael Jackson song Bad, directed by Martin Scorsese himself. Major League, remember?
Willie Mays Hayes.
That movie, Willie Mays Hayes, yep. New Jack City, which you may hear a little bit later. Blade, obviously, the Blade trilogy, and a whole bunch of other stuff you guys all know. Trained in martial arts, since he was 12 years old. There's so many different types. He's got a fifth, what do they call it? Fifth Dan black belt in Shotokan karate and another one in Hapkido. I feel like that's what Larry has.
You think Larry has Hapkido?
Yeah. I think Larry's like a secret, like 12th level black belt in Hapkido. Made his film debut in the 1986 Goldie Hawn movie Wildcats.
Him and Woody Harrelson together.
Oh, that's right.
And they ended up making a few movies together as they became stars.
Yeah, later on. Then we have Bruce Payne as Charles Rain. Now, John, I want you to repeat after me. Bruce Payne is not insane.
Bruce Payne is not insane.
Yeah, I think maybe he is. He's Charles Rain is his character. He's a sadistic international terrorist. I don't know, just gets off hijacking jets.
Every action movie in the 1980s, you have to have the Eurotrash villain.
Yeah.
This is the Eurotrash villain in this film. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to say, I'm a straight guy, but I can't take my eyes off this guy in this movie.
He's good looking.
Yeah.
He's good looking.
Yeah. Hey, he's a great villain. I just, of the Eurotrash villains, I don't really know a whole lot of what he did, but he played Jacob Kell in Highlander Endgame.
Okay.
Which I didn't watch.
I believe you.
Some other character in Dungeons and Dragons movies.
No, saw none of that.
Yeah, me neither. But really good in this one. Then we have Tom Sizemore as Sly Del Vecchio.
Do you know why he was named Sly?
Yeah, because our boy Sly Stallone was once going to be chosen for this role, but didn't do it.
Yeah, apparently Stallone...
Not for this role, for Wesley Snipes' role.
Right. Stallone was originally looked at for this movie, and apparently Steven Seagal was offered this movie and chose to do Under Siege, which was, also the same year. And, he had a bunch of movies like that were money makers, Hard to Kill, Mark for Death, all that stuff. But the one that like really pushed him over was Under Siege. So.
Yeah. Yeah. He's been in a lot of good stuff. Tom Sizemore, Born on the 4th of July, True Romance, Natural Born Killers, Saving Private Ryan.
He's amazing. He passed away last year, and he real bad reputation and not a good guy.
Troubled life.
Not a good guy by most people's word, but especially in Saving Private Ryan as Mike, the sergeant that was like Tom Hanks' right-hand man. He's like all-time war movie guy. You know what I mean? Like he really, you believe him in that role.
Yeah,
and when he gets killed at the end, he gets hit with all those bullets, and he just got the wind knocked out of me, like that scene. And then the next scene when Tom Hanks looks at him and he's dead, hanging on onto the sandbags.
Yeah,
he's really good,
really good. And then we have Alex Datcher as Marty Slayton. She is the flight attendant on board. Becomes a love interest.
I just have to ask you one question.
Yeah,
before I forget. Especially in the first scene where they're together and during that flight training class, does she not at some points in this movie look like the same era Michael Jackson? Like,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
and I thought maybe I was the only one seeing it.
When he's talking to her in that flight training class, her makeup, her hair. Yep. She looks like she's about to like start singing, "Do you remember the time?" It's distracting at points.
It is. It was uncanny. But it's not every scene, but there are certain scenes at certain angles where
she's very pretty.
Yeah.
Very pretty woman. But there's certain scenes where you're like, "Oh, Shimon, you and me in Spain. what about us, girl?"
Oh man, I couldn't find very much on her.
Yeah,
she did a few lesser known movies and some TV episodes I barely even heard of. But she did star in Star Trek Next Generation.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. Then we have Bruce Greenwood as Stuart Ramsey. A smallish role, but
young ass Bruce Greenwood.
Yeah,
I didn't recognize him.
Yep.
I'm like, is that young ass Bruce Greenwood?
I didn't think he was ever that young.
He always seems like he's played a middle-aged, kind of dad-like character for like 40 years. And in this, he's like young hotshot.
Yep, definitely. Like I said, he's not in the movie much. He doesn't do a whole lot, but he's in it.
I just want to bring up a part of this movie that involves Bruce Greenwood. So Bruce Greenwood in this movie plays a character that Wesley Snipes is attempting to get a job with. Manster, in any job interview you've ever had, have you ever just like said the F-bomb right to the guy who's going to hire you? Because remember, Wesley Snipes is like 27 different American airlines or 27 different airlines have been hijacked in the last like 1 year. And he's like, do you know the only airline that has never been hijacked? And Bruce Greenwood's like, no, I don't. And he's like, nobody fucks with Israelis. And I'm like, wow, you're in a job interview, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I understand it's a movie, but it's still a job interview. Right. That's true, though. I don't know if since then, but yeah, nobody fucks with them.
No, Qantas, as far as I know, was the only. No, I take that back. Qantas, I think, at one point, and I'm not sure if it still is, was the only major airline that never had a crash.
Without a crash, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I read that on a Snapple cap as well.
You cunt.
Thank you. I deserve that.
Oh,
we're gonna have to go to commercial break.
Yeah, really. Gotta recollect myself.
What was that thing I said on The Exorcist that made you laugh?
We can't repeat it here. We can't repeat it here. That was a Patreon episode where we can get away with some language we can't get away with here.
That's funny. All right. Now we have Robert Hooks as Dwight Henderson, an FBI agent. And I bring him up because he is the father of director Kevin Hooks.
Yep.
And let's see, last but not least, Elizabeth Hurley as Sabrina Ritchie.
Young ass Elizabeth Hurley.
Early. Is it her first? Yeah, it's her first big budget film. She had done a couple earlier films, but they were just like little small things. So this was that first role. She is basically a flight attendant and also a henchman, probably second in command of Rain. You will remember her, of course, as Vanessa Kensington in the Austin Powers movies. She was on Ed TV, Bedazzled. Also, girlfriend of Hugh Grant.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Black history for a second? Hugh Grant, about 5 years from this film, maybe in like 1995 or 6, was very lucky to be, a man involved with Elizabeth Hurley, one of the most beautiful women on earth. Yeah. And he got caught getting a blowjob from a street urchin, a black woman named Divine Brown on like Hollywood Boulevard. Remember that? Remember, like, people just forget that shit, but like,
yeah,
that is the truest definition of when some people say like, it doesn't matter how gorgeous a woman is or how hot a guy is. Somebody out there is tired of fucking them because
for real, man. I'm doing a little research on her, and she was a Estee Lauder model, and she had that really iconic black Versace dress at the premiere of his movie there, 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Do you ever see that? Do you remember that dress?
I feel like I remember it.
And plunging V-neck, and then the sides were held together by these like gold safety pins. Incredible looking dress.
The thing with her is that she's beautiful in this movie, but Austin Powers is like 5 years later, and she's like 18 times more beautiful in Austin Powers. Like she is like a fine wine. She just gets better, and she's still fucking incredibly hot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're not here to talk about it, but she is incredibly hot.
Yeah, we kind of are here to talk about it, but that's okay.
And then, but she waited like another 5 years before they broke up.
Yeah, no, she stayed with him. She was like,
it wasn't right away. They like took him a while.
She stayed with him. Like, hey, maybe she knows. Maybe she's like, hey, look, I'm not that great at sucking dick, and Divine Brown like has a Hoover for a fucking mouth, and go for it, you.
So that's it.
All right, let's get into this movie. All right, so we start off, and we get a scene where international terrorist Charles Rain.
Reign of Terror.
In his reign of terror, is about to have a face-off, I think. I don't know. He's in an operating suite, and it seems like he's about to have his face changed for the purposes of getting away from the authorities. The doctor is acting very suspicious, looking at the clock, and Charles Rain's a fucking genius, so he knows this means that like a SWAT team is coming. He enacts a crazy escape before the SWAT team gets there to take him, cuts the doctor's throat, jumps out like fucking a window, running down the street. Now, let me ask you a question, Master. The first thing I noticed is he was the patient in this procedure. Why was he wearing scrubs?
He was wearing scrubs. I don't know. I didn't get this whole scene really. I didn't quite put it together like you did, that he figured out that he was going to get attacked. And why is he like here to get his face off? And then he slashes the doctor and leaves. I didn't get it.
Yeah. Well, the doctor was looking at the clock. Yeah. That tipped him off. And then he said to the doctor, like, doctor, what time is it? And like the guy's like, I don't know. And he knew he was looking at the clock, but like, I don't know. Like, I thought when you go in for procedures, you wore like a gown or something. You
have a gown with like, no ass on it. And,
he's flat out wearing scrubs, which would make him a nurse or something.
And how do you know to jump out that particular window that just happened to have like a awning or a tent or whatever underneath it?
No, he did. He figured it out.
Lucky man.
He gets down to the ground floor, and he gets caught pretty quickly. And it also made me laugh because usually in like action movies, you'll have like this big set piece of like destruction happening. And in this, it's just like maybe 5 or 6 5-gallon bottles of water cooler water come out of a truck.
Yeah.
Like, like there's really nothing big happening. And then the cops get him. So it's real quick. Like he's caught, he's going back to jail. And then we go onto a plane, it seems, right? But what's really happening here, Master?
Yeah, we think we're on a plane and but really it's John Cutter's training session.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes.
Flight attendants, self-defense and, these kind of situations.
Right. And, he does his thing where he pretends he's a terrorist, gets up, and he gets into a conflict with the Michael Jackson stewardess and with MJ. And she ends up knocking the gun out of his hand, and then another guy. Long story short, she's like, I did the right thing. And he's like, he's just berating her right off the bat. He's like, you could have gotten everybody killed. What you did was wrong. Someone puts a gun to your head. You do what they say. So we get that.
Yeah, he's a real dick.
He's a real dick about it. Now, meanwhile, Tom Sizemore, Sly Del Vecchio. And here's how it's spelled, by the way. DEL Vecchio. Sly Del Vecchio is there checking him out. And this movie is off of the 90s action movie assembly line.
Mm-hmm.
Here we have a checklist. We have the Wesley Snipes character is the expert who is like left it all behind for a reason. We have the reason is that, during a stick up, and we see this in a black and white flashback, during a stick up, while he's out with his loving wife, his actions lead to her getting killed. So we have the ex-boss that just wants him to come back because you're the best, John Cutter. Like, we're just hitting all the beats as this thing goes along. And Del Vecchio, Shamon. So we're doing all that stuff. They're talking and walking, and he's like, look, I want to get you back. I need you, for this. And he's like, look, I just want to get my check. And Del Vecchio's like, look, man, airline, like, security training, that's bullshit. You should be like the vice president of something at this, like defense or something at this airline company. So why don't you come
anti-terrorism unit?
But it seems like it's at a commercial airline company.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird. It's a made up job that probably didn't exist before 9/11. Maybe it exists now. Oh, this is a crazy factoid I read, and I read it in one spot, and I looked it up because I figured maybe it might be fake. On Tuesday, September 11th, 2001, on Stars, the nighttime like 8 p.m. movie was Passenger 57, and they took it off. They changed it with something else, which is pretty crazy.
Wow.
So they're talking, and he finally says, "Okay, look, I'll go for this interview." And this is where he swears at his new boss. Says nobody fucks with the Israelis. And Bruce Greenwood, it's like, come on, they never. This is the other crazy part. He says to him, he goes, "Do you accept the job?" And he's like, "I'll do it." Did they ever talk about money, or is that just a conversation?
No, not in these scenes. No.
Okay.
No, because money's not an issue in this case.
I was going to say, he's going to be pissed when he finds out he makes like $17 an hour to be like the vice president of anti-terrorism for whatever. So now he's going to be moving to Los Angeles for the job. So
Did they say where they're in the beginning of the movie?
They did not, but I think it must be, I almost think it might be Florida because they end up crashing or coming down in Louisiana eventually. So it's definitely southeast, I think. So he's going to be getting on a plane, flying out to LA to take this new job. He gets on the plane, and a couple of things happen. Who's the stewardess on the plane, Manster?
Well, the stewardess is that girl Marty that he was a dick to in the training class, which is yeah. And then the second funny thing is the FBI is taking this terrorist on a commercial flight.
Yeah. What? Okay.
Across the country?
I wanted to ask you about that. So the FBI shows up with Charles Rain. Manster, repeat after me. Charles Rain is not insane.
Charles Rain is not insane.
Okay.
Charles Rain is not insane.
Charles Rain beats up his jailhouse lawyer when the guy infers that he might be insane. He also doesn't like people talking about his childhood.
How many jailhouse lawyer situations involve you being in a separate room where the lawyer sits down, but the prisoner is free to walk about?
Walking around him. If you were the jailhouse lawyer for a international terrorist and Euro trash mastermind, Charles Rain, who we all know clearly is a violent, like, fucking sociopath or psychopath, would you sit and let him walk around you? I would stand in the corner.
Yeah, I'd be in the corner.
In the corner so I could see him coming.
Knives sticking out.
Yeah. But no. So Charles Rain's not insane. So the FBI just shows up on the plane, and when they come on, they just flash their badge. Now, what happens in a ticket situation if this was a full plane, Manster? I was thinking that, like, who gets kicked off?
Well, I'd be happy to be the one kicked off in that situation.
Yeah, oh, me too, because this is obviously going to be a bad situation.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's weird. It just sems like if that were to ever happen.
The whole situation obviously is that's not going to happen.
No, I would hope not.
But it has to happen for this movie. So,
but I know it's happened in other movies too. There's other movies where there's people on a plane with like a detainee or something. So yeah, I'm going to look into this. I'm going to look into.
It's all bullshit.
I think it is too. So Cutter is on there, and MJ, the stewardess, is doing her count of head. And of course, when she gets to him, he's passenger 57. Clever title reference right there.
Mm-hmm.
He's reading The Art of War by Sun Tzu. I read Sun Tzu, so you never come to. He's reading The Art of War, which, by the way, unrelated, in 2000 is an actual Wesley Snipes movie as well. And they have their little kind of bickering moment. She goes in the back to like get coffee and stuff, and he gets up and goes back there with her, which I would think would be a big no-no, but he's John Cutter. But here's the weird thing. And they don't really reference it ever again or before, but he seems to be afraid to fly, right? Something's wrong?
A little, yeah. Yeah.
And then he asks her what I feel to be the weirdest thing on earth. He's like, I don't really do well on planes. Let's get past our little beef from earlier. Can you just do me a favor and check on me every couple? What?
I just didn't quite get that.
What the fuck does that mean?
Check on me.
What does that mean to you?
I don't know. Like, bring me a glass of water because I might pass out.
Like, when I was a kid, I remember when my dad would work late, I would be sleeping in my room, and I remember he would like open the door a little bit and look in on me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I woke up, say, hey, what's up? Or, whatever. He was checking in on me because he was my dad and I was 7.
Yeah.
Like, what is tough ass Wesley Snipes need Michael Jackson to check in on him for? What do you think do you think that was just like kind of a pickup line, or
maybe? Yeah, maybe it was. Was he already mistaken for Arsenio Hall at this point?
Shit. Oh shit. No, because that's how she gets back at him for being a dick, is that he asked to be checked on. So she goes and finds
that's right.
this like 75-year-old woman who doesn't stop talking to sit next to him. And there's an ongoing joke about how she thinks he's Arsenio Hall, which is so fucking of the time, like, oh, all black people look the same. But like it happens through the whole movie to the point at the end, jumping ahead, when all the terrorists are beat and he's the last one left and he's saved the plane. Everybody in the plane does the Arsenio whoop and the arm motion to him. And I'm like, oh my fucking God.
That is ridiculous. Did you know, I don't know if you read this as well, but so Arsenio Hall, I guess, was in a show called Martial Law.
I've heard of with Sammo Hung. I've never seen it. Yeah.
So in that show, in an episode of that show, his character is mistaken for Wesley Snipes, and the woman says to him, "I loved you" in Passenger 57.
That's great. That's good writing.
Yeah, right.
That's fucking
Totally
good
full
writing.
circle. Yeah.
So that's what's happening on the plane now. The plane takes off, and it doesn't take long. At one point, Snipes gets to go up to the bathroom. I have to talk about this part with you, Master. Snipes' character, Cutter, goes to the bathroom, and while he's in the bathroom, Elizabeth Hurley's character is serving dinner. Dinner is a fucking 45 with a silencer on it. I don't know why they needed a silencer on it when they're just fucking killing people openly. But she kills the FBI agents that are with Rain, and then all of Rain's guys like take over the plane. Cutter hears all of the commotion. I love this. And there's one guy very close to him outside of the bathroom.
Yeah.
He opens the door, he's watching. The guy moves away, and there's one of those like old style phones that you could call out on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so fucking ridiculous. He takes his credit card out and he puts it in the phone, and then you have to shut like this gate on the phone. Yeah. It's so fucking loud. Like but the guy doesn't hear it. The guy hears the door creak open at one point, turns around
something, and he looks back. Right.
But he doesn't hear like this snapping noise of the phone shutting. He gets the phone out and he's able to call Del Vecchio. This is the point where he's trying to get Del Vecchio's number, and the lady's like, "How do you spell that?" And he says, Del Vecchio. Vecchio is able to hear the commotion, and he says, on the phone, Cutter says, they've taken over the plane. So now they know, and now they're all, working on like their response for this. But it's the airline. They send Del Vecchio out to where this plane ends up landing in a helicopter, and there's a whole kind of jokey bit about him being afraid of flying too, which is weird. These guys all work for airlines, and they're all afraid to fly. We get some Wesley Snipes, martial arts action. He beats the fuck out of that first guy. And then he gets into a situation where it's a face-off with Charles Rain, and very similar to his wife. He doesn't react the way that Rain wants him to, so he kills a father. Rain just starts killing Rain has no problem, right?
Killing fucking hostages. Care at all about killing people.
Not at all. So they start fighting. Did you feel it was really willy-nilly how these guys were shooting on this plane? Like, you gotta be careful. You got to be careful.
From what I've read about, you decompression if you shoot through the hull, and
they're just shooting.
They're just shooting willy nilly. They don't care.
So Snipes' character Cutter and fucking Shamon get on the elevator to go down to the gangway or the galley, and when they get down there, they run into another one of the guys.
He said there's always someone down here, he's trying to fool them.
We know he's a henchman because we've seen him, but, and then they get into it and he beats the hell out of him. Now, Manster, at this point, he tells, the Michael Jackson character, he's like, we've got to bring this plane down. Only thing we do, or he's going to fucking get away with all this. So he tells her, we're going to dump the fuel. Now I got to ask you, Manster, do you hope as much as I do that dumping the fuel on a major airline takes more than pulling one wire?
A little more effort than just that. Yeah.
That was frightening to me.
Yeah. There's no way that's anywhere near accurate.
When he finds the fucking controls in my head, I've seen this movie, but it's been a while. In my head, I'm like, oh, he's going to have to turn 3 levers, pull a lever out, pull a couple wires, maybe like fucking rip something off with some tools. No. He disconnects one wire and they show the plane start to fucking dip.
Dip sideways. Like somehow that also made it bank.
Yeah. And it banked too. It banked too. So the plane is going down and they determine that they have to land in a small airport in Louisiana. In this scene, when we get to Louisiana, now this is something about this movie.
This is where it gets a little hard for me to watch.
Yeah, this is something I forgot about this movie, is if you had said to me, John, do they ever get off the plane in Passenger 57 till the end? I would have said no, the whole movie takes place on the plane. No, like a good chunk of the movie is off the plane, which I totally forgot about. The plane goes down, it lands, the henchman wakes up from his beating and manages to kick him off the plane, so the The MJ stewardess is still stuck on the plane with all the hostages.
Because they were waiting for it to slow down or whatever to jump out. Right?
To jump out, right? But he gets kicked out of the landing gear well. What did you think, Manster, when we started dealing with like the local yokel sheriff and like the comic relief of all of this?
I mean, it was comic relief, but it was so cringy to me.
It was super cringy, and
the way they were treating him and not believing who he was and calling him boy and
oh yeah,
so cringy.
It's like this movie tries so hard to do all the things a movie like Die Hard does well, but doesn't do them really well. Like in Die Hard, when John McClane has the relationship with Al, the cop on the ground, there's multiple scenes of them talking and getting to know each other. At the end of this movie, like Wesley Snipes' character is like totally like jokey with the sheriff that was like treated him like shit.
Yep.
And there wasn't any basis on him wanting to like this guy. This guy was a fucking cock.
I think normally you would go back in that case and make some kind of snarky, smart comment to the sheriff, that or that put him in his place.
Right, put him in his place, or there could have been a scene where he's like at the end, jumping ahead, when they're walking into town and the sheriff's like, would you like a ride in? Yeah. Or if the sheriff had walked up to him, a shot to the gut.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Punch in the face, just something.
Don't call me boy, Yeah. But instead he's like they're like, are we getting together for to play Wii next weekend? Yeah, buddy, Yeah. Like it just didn't, I don't know, a lot of that stuff didn't work well. So we get on the ground and Snipes is Cutter is taken into custody. And the next 20 minutes are all on the ground. We get kind of a motorcycle chase
because Charles Rain and the sheriff are in talks, and he wants fuel, and he's going to start killing people, and you go through that whole stupid thing,
right? And then they get off the plane
up as they're releasing some of the passengers. They just sneak off and just disappear, and no one even knows except for obviously Wesley Snipes.
Right. And he knows they went to a local carnival to go win a Judas Priest mirror by throwing a baseball into a milk bottle.
I want my Kiss lunchbox.
Charles Rain is like, I will take the Dangerous Toys t-shirt tour 1991. I will take the
Insane Clown Posse.
I will take the ICP Juggalo World Tour. And I will have one of the Judas Priest Hell Bent for Leather 1983 tour. Mirrors, please.
Who didn't have all that stuff, man?
I got a question for you for this scene, Manster, right? They go to a carnival and actions ensues. But at one point, Cutter jumps up onto a
Ferris wheel?
A Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
And the Ferris wheel is moving and it gets almost all the way to the top. And one of Rain's henchmen starts shooting towards the Ferris wheel.
Who looked like a little boy. Didn't he look like a college
he did.
high school or college kid?
He did. He looked like he was like a fucking henchman intern.
Yeah.
He's like, Charles Rain's like, if you mortally wound at least 2 people in this adventure, I will make you a real henchman. So you're right. So, but what I wanted to ask you was, did you notice? Because I noticed this. So Cutter gets on the cart of the Ferris wheel and it's going to the top. Start shooting at the Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel operator, who is being shot at, incidentally, I mean, he's not being shot at, but he takes the time to shut the Ferris wheel off before he runs.
And runs away.
What would your concern be? The motors on the Ferris wheel when you're getting shot at? Answer that.
The training just kicks in. You can't help it.
His carny training tells him.
Carny training.
Like the carny, the grand carnies are like, listen here, no matter what happens, you got to make sure we don't run out them motors on the Ferris wheel. Them's the hardest ones to replace.
Do a good carny.
Thanks.
Redneck carny.
he shuts it down and runs. And then, so now Snipes is stuck up top. Intern henchman climbs up the ladder, gets kicked off and killed.
Are you going to climb up that ladder?
Well, I'm an intern henchman. If I want to be a full-time henchman.
You're trying to impress. Yeah.
This is credits. This is like at the end of this adventure, if Charles Rain had won, the last thing he would have done is gotten out his grading papers.
Right. There'd be a grade book. He'd have a pencil. He'd lick He licked the tip of the pencil. A
Now,
little check mark in the book.
as far as conserving your ammunition, I'm going to give you a C. You were kind of a wild shot. So this all happens here. Master, how do we get back on the fucking plane? Because that happens, right? We get back on the plane.
So yeah, that guy dies. Oh, they capture Cutter, don't they?
They capture.
They capture him again, and they end up getting back. And they're escorting him to the plane, and they're going to set up a sniper.
They capture Rain. Yeah, they capture Rain.
Oh, I'm sorry, I said Cutter. But yeah, no, I meant Rain. Yeah.
Okay, so they capture Rain, and you're right. He's going to go back on the plane because his people are still on there, so they're going to kill more hostages. So here's the trade-off. You get me back to the plane, it's gassed up, I'll let everybody go, and then we're gone. But like the cops have set up snipers, right? And they're going to take everybody out as they can. But did I miss a scene? How did
Yeah. So do you remember the balding guy? Like he's the guy with the ring of hair. What's his?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
The one remaining henchman that was out there. There was a scene where he was just kind of walking through the crowd quickly towards, where the cops were staked out.
Okay.
There was a scene like that. If you blinked, you missed it.
Well, I didn't blink. I flat out fell asleep for the last 25 minutes and had to watch it over again.
You're not the only one.
that might have been right where I fell asleep.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel better now. So the henchman takes out all the law enforcement that's surrounding Rain. Rain gets back on the plane, and then we get an action scene where how
the Rain in plane falls mainly.
Repeat after me, Lloyd.
Yeah, I could have done better with that.
Charles Rain gets back on the plane.
Charles Rain gets back on the plane.
Very good. How does Wesley Snipes get back on the plane? Someone races him down the runway, right? They got him on
Oh yeah. So his final remaining henchman is able to take out the two guys escorting Rain. Rain gets back on the plane. They take off. And Wesley Snipes and this is probably where they got buddy again. Biggs, was that the sheriff's name? Biggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're driving down in his Jeep, and they catch up to the plane, and he's going to jump in on the landing gear.
Right, he jumps in the landing gear.
Gets back in the plane that way.
Gets back in the plane, and essentially we just kind of get like the typical, big action Hollywood ending where we have the final fight between Charles Rain and John Cutter, and it's not even really a good fight.
No, not much happens.
They basically just fucking punch each other a few times, a couple Wesley Snipes kicks.
Did you feel that the martial art, I mean, he hasn't honed his acting craft yet, but did it seem very stiff to you?
I wouldn't say. See, I think I don't mind it because I think it's almost like Jason Statham, where Wesley Snipes is an actor first who is a martial artist.
Yeah.
As opposed to somebody like, Bruce Lee, who was a martial artist who became an actor. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of the other way around. So I didn't feel like it was stiff, but what I did feel like it was lacking was if you have this character who is a martial artist, it would have been nice at the end if Charles Rain was like, well, I'm a, 12th level, Shotokan. And they have like a really good fucking, kind of martial arts fight. And instead,
maybe he could have done the crane.
I would have loved the drum punch. I would have loved something. Yeah. But they just like kind of pop each other a few times. And how does he kills him? He throws him out the door, right? The door opens.
Yeah, the door opens. I forget how. Was it?
Yeah.
Maybe they shot something and
the
door blew open and he punched him out of it, I think.
Actually, he kicks him in the balls twice.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. They're fighting by the door, and he knocks Rain to the door, and Rain is holding on, which you're never holding on, by the way. If you're at the door and you've got your hands on, you're never going to be able to hold on at that point. But he's holding on for dear life, and fucking Cutter kicks him in the balls 2 times, which I thought, this is bizarre for an action movie. Like, goes flying out, dies.
Yep. And he falls, and you see him, and he screams as he's going down. And
he does scream. He does scream.
Like a little baby.
He does, like a little bitch. And then,
hey, if that's the way you're going to die,
fucking
enjoy that ride down.
Oh,
God, that would be so awesome.
You know what I'm doing?
Close your eyes at the last second.
I'm straightening my body out and I'm putting my arms to my side.
Yeah.
And I'm going to lean my head forward and I am going to bullet this motherfucker right into earth. They're going to have to get a crane to get my body, like, or whatever's left of my body. They're going to need like fucking machinery to get it all out of the ground. I'm going like probably like, I don't know, 7 or 8 feet into the ground head first. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Just
it's going to be
gotta enjoy that.
I kind of think you're right. I mean, you're already falling. So at that point, as soon as you realize you're out of the plane, you also realize I'm dead. I have literally like 15 seconds left. Let's see what it's like to fucking fly at high speeds.
Right. I mean, arms out, just cruising.
Oh, I probably would do the Superman too. Like one arm
take
out.
My clothes off and try and do it naked.
Well, you would be dead before your fucking pants even got unbuttoned. No, you're better off.
No, I bet you it's a long trip down.
What do you think? I'm
30
thinking
seconds.
30
no,
seconds. No, I'm thinking. Well, no, you're right because I think skydivers. The whole idea is that you have to have some time.
30,000 feet, whatever they.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
I'm sure easily I could do the math, but I don't feel like it.
You think you can get your pants off flying in the air?
I don't know. I would try.
Dude, I have a hard time getting my pants off standing up in my room sometimes. Like one leg ain't coming off, one's stuck around my fucking around my shoe, or around my ankle. Yeah. All right. So then the next like 10 minutes of this movie, the wrap up, is it just becomes like a fucking comedy. It's weird.
Yeah, there's really no need for anything else.
All the stuff with fucking Del Vecchio is like very like slapsticky and dumb, where it's like he he's talking to the reporters and he's like, this was all my idea, I'm Sly Del Vecchio. And then we get like the kind of like jokey relationship between Cutter and Biggs, the sheriff. And then the movie just ends. Just ends. Yeah. And
you get the little joke, with the yeah. Oh, and he goes with Marty, right? So he gets the girl in the end.
He gets the girl in the end, which,
or the boy.
Or
Shamo.
All right. That was 1992's Passenger 57. Manster, let's talk about the box office.
Show me the money.
Looking good, but I think I'm taking too long.
Back to the spot for a Glock. I took a loss over frost, but still got a knock.
Money!
So the budget of this was $15 million. It opened $10.5 million opening weekend. Pretty damn respectable, I guess.
I saw it in the movies.
Did you? I did not. So that weekend, what did we say that was? November 6th, 92?
Yep.
Yeah. That weekend, number 5, the other movie that was out that week was Jennifer 8.
I've never seen that, and I've heard it's good. Andy Garcia, and I think Uma Thurman. Maybe I'll check that out.
Yeah. 3.6 million, like I said, in its first week. Number 4, The Mighty Ducks, in its 6th week at 4 million. A River Runs Through It, number 3, 5 million in its 5th week. And as you said earlier, Under Siege at 5.7 million, also in its 5th week. And number 1 that weekend was Passenger 57, 10.5 million. Now it made $44 million on the year. Not too bad. It came in like 36 or 37, something like that.
One of the reasons I threw this up there for people to vote on is this is a black actor starring major motion picture action film in the 90s. You had Seagal, you had Van Damme, you had Schwarzenegger and Stallone still kicking about. You had guys that they were trying to make happen, like Brian Bosworth and Jeff Speakman, if you remember him. But like Wesley Snipes, kind of for a short period of time, there was a few movies like this that he did, where he was kind of like, maybe one of the only, I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head, black action stars in the 90s, which is pretty impressive in my opinion.
Yeah, this is basically what propelled him to that status.
Yeah.
One other thing that I had a little note for, that final fight of, him and Bruce Payne.
Yep.
In the plane, there are no stunt doubles for that. They did that whole scene by themselves.
Repeat after me, Manster. Bruce Payne plays Charles Rain.
Bruce Payne plays Charles Wayne on a plane.
On a plane. Yeah, I left that part out. Fuck. All right, let's rate this thing.
Don't judge me, monkey.
0 being the worst thing ever, 5 being the best thing ever, and 1/4.5 scale optional. I'm going to go first on this one.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I own this movie. I bought this years ago, because it's in one of those Warner Brothers keep cases where it snaps and it's got the cardboard flap and everything. And when I entered it on Letterboxd today, after watching it yesterday, I had realized that I watched this in November of 2020 for the first time in many years. I probably bought this because it was like $6 in the Walmart bin. And I thought, oh, I enjoyed that movie when it came out years ago. You know, I like Wesley Snipes. He's got a lot of charisma. But the problem with this movie is it does everything to a half or lesser measure. The Wesley Snipes character, we're meant to believe he's this like super security fucking expert. We're meant to believe that he is this like this action kind of like, you know, like go for broke guy. But none of that really pans out. You know, he seems fairly realistic when you get to it. Like, he's afraid to fly. When the shit is going down, when he's in the bathroom, he's like, no. Like, he's not, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe he's not playing it like, you know, like other people would play it where it's like, it's time to rock and roll. But then a lot of the other things in the film, like, why introduce the dead wife plot when it does nothing? Like, we even have a flashback. There's no scenes where he seems like he's mentally beaten by this. The flashback scene, they show him training against a
speed bag.
A speed bag. But like in the rest of the movie, there's one scene in the movie where he gets mad at MJ and calls her Lisa, his ex-wife's name. Yeah. But like none of it ever like lends to any of his character. It just seems like someone said, you know, well, what are we going to do with this character? And someone in the room is like, give him a dead wife. That always works. It doesn't work in this. The Eurotrash villain, he's just so, you know, like, hey, look, you want a Eurotrash villain? Go look up Alan Rickman in Die Hard. There's some real gravitas. There's some real character building. In this, we just know that he doesn't like to have his childhood talked about. And he's psychotic for some reason. But like, there's not really a lot other than that. He looks great. He looks like a fucking Eurotrash villain, but it just never really adds to anything. He's not super memorable. Humor they're trying to add in with the Tom Sizemore character and the sheriff character, none of it works. I don't know. And then when you get right down to it in the end, the action, it's pretty subpar. So I'm going to give this like a 2.25. Like I wanted to give it more. And I think on Letterboxd, I gave it a 2.5, like 4 years ago, but watching it again, I'm like, Jesus, like the number one thing I could think of when I was watching this movie yesterday, after reading what I read about Steven Seagal, is that Steven Seagal made the right fucking choice in making Under Siege. Under Siege has great action in it. The humor works in it. The villain, played by Tommy Lee Jones, is memorable. And with the script this thing had, it would not have worked the same way for Seagal. So I'm going 2.25, Master. What do you got?
All right. Yeah, you took most of my points, so I'm not going to go on and on like I do sometimes. You know, it's a fairly run-of-the-mill action hijack movie. I think maybe the only thing that sets it apart, and you mentioned this earlier, is it's got 3 acts. One's in the air, and then it's on the ground, and then it's in the air again.
Yeah.
So that's a little, you know, that sets it apart a little bit. I think, you know, Wesley Snipes is charismatic, but kind of, you know, the villain, Bruce Payne, like you said, you know, he looks good. He's got great 90s hair.
He does.
But the movie just doesn't add anything of any significance. It was just an hour and a half of, okay, I wasn't upset that I watched it for an hour and a half.
That's one of its benefits. It's an hour and 24 minutes long.
Yeah.
That's a real benefit.
It's entertaining. So I'm just giving it a straight up 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah. Without spoiling the review in a couple weeks, Wesley Snipes is the villain in New Jack City, and he oozes charisma in that movie. He is like, and I get it. It's a different character. He's not playing the same character, and he's not the problem in this movie, but everything is just so like, like what kids say nowadays, you're basic. Like this movie is pretty basic. Yeah. Right. There's nobody out there, cause there's all these movies, right? Like
this movie doesn't slay.
This movie ain't slaying, son. All these movies from the 90s, like this one and, the movies that can be called Die Hard on a something, as I mentioned, Under Siege 2, Executive Decision. This is easily one of the most forgettable ones in terms of there's not much people remember about this. The one thing people remember about this movie, and it's all-star writing, and the scene is great, and how they pan in on him is during the phone conversation between Cutter and Rain. You have this typical like law enforcement versus like evil genius conversation, and Rain's like, there's no way you're gonna win. I'm gonna get away, and you're blah blah blah. And then Cutter says, like, Rain, do you ever play roulette? And Rain says, occasionally. And then the fucking camera comes in tight on Wesley Snipes, and he goes, yeah, always bet on black. And that is what everybody remembers about this movie. Yeah. Period.
And that was my sign off, but it's gone now.
Sorry, man. Sorry. I felt like there was no way one of us couldn't mention it, and it just popped into my brain.
Yeah.
I think maybe a month or two ago on the Pint Insider, when I had mentioned we were going to be doing this movie, like 3 people commented, and all of them were always bet on black.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, Master, tell everybody where they can find us.
Any of your podcatchers would be good. And you know what? We ask once in a while, not all the time, but if you can, give us a rating. Please. That'd be great. Yeah. If you have not rated us before, just take a little time, go in there and give us a rating. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube at The Pint, a pop culture podcast. On Instagram and Threads, it's at The Pint Podcast. And of course, the Patreon Insider, www.patreon.com/The Pint.
We'd love to have you as Insider, $2.50 and $4 for the 2 tiers. Go to the site, check it out, see if anything, gets your juices flowing. I think that there's a way now on Patreon for you to sign up for free for maybe like a week or something. I don't know how it works. Don't ask me how it works. But if you go to our site and you see where it says free, click on free. I don't know if it lets you listen to episodes or not, but like, just see what we got going there. And maybe you'll want to jump in on that. Don't forget, again, this month is Black History Month. We got 2 more movies on the main feed coming. One of them is New Jack City, as we mentioned. The other is 1992's Candyman. So come back for those. And don't forget, in all seriousness, go to blackhistorymonth.gov and just start digging into a ton of the great articles and all of the awesome resources it has there. And until next time, I say see ya.
See ya.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!